we see ourselves as the main character in our own lives.
But if I'm empty and I'm giving everything that I have to people and I'm neglecting the one relationship that, that's the most important, whenever you do start what you want to start, you're effective. And there's going to be trials and tribulations through anything, but at the same time,
And I didn't make this up. I heard this, I'm sure, on some other podcast that I listened to. But oftentimes we see ourselves as the main character in our own lives. And so, meaning which it's hard for us to really understand what other people are going through because we'll get caught up in what's going on in our own story. We won't worry about the side characters in our life when our issues are happening with relationships, sickness, whatever the
right.
case may be. So talk on that, bro, real quick. How does somebody keep that mindset that that they are able to not neglect themselves, because it can get unhealthy really fast, but that they can truly love others and focus on others the way that Christ would have us focus on.
Absolutely. I think it starts with yourself, which is crazy that, it starts saying that first loving yourself. And then that's where it can't, you won't let it get to an unhealthy space. And then it starts, with your family and your friends.
Yeah.
Like, how well are you loving them? How are you serving them? And then it branches out into other people. And really, you're just continuing to do what you're doing for yourself, for your family, for your friends, and then it continues to branch out. And I think it's important, man. Like I said, like God, the most important thing to God is His people. So you can't, He commands us to love His people. You know what I'm saying? That's a commandment.
Yeah.
So that's something that we have to practice. Something that I have to practice every single day. And like I said, it starts with me loving myself. You know what I'm saying? Understanding. And how do you love yourself? Getting closer to God, listening to God, being obedient to Him, and then you that stuff starts to trickle down, and it becomes infectious because you're loving your family. You're loving your kids if you have kids. You're loving your friends. You've been a person of integrity. You've been a person keep your word. That all that stuff is it's practical things that you give that to other people, and that's loving them, serving them. You know what I'm saying? And I think it starts with yourself and that relationship that you have with God, and once you get that, it begins to flow.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and talking about flow, like it ought to be the overflow of what's already going on, right?
Mhm.
That's what you're touching on, that your relationship with God should be in such a way that you are out of abundance being able to love on your friends, your families,
Exactly.
the your neighbors, your enemy, the people, people you
Yeah.
don't agree with, right? Um, and I think where it can get unhealthy, where I was kind of leaning on, was one, you overly love, or how some people might say, like, you love like too hard, right?
Mhm.
Meaning, you get to a point where you neglect yourself completely,
Right.
because you feel like I'm
Mhm.
loving somebody else. Like I'm trying to give them my best. And I like what you said. You can't really get unhealthy if you're keeping that relationship with God. Like that
Right.
discernment is going to hit, right? Like that's kind of what you touching on.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Like, because I said in the line, the more I'm filled, the more I could pour, and the more I'm in the presence of God, the more that I can pour out. But
Mm,
if I'm empty and I'm giving everything that I have to people and I'm neglecting the one relationship that, that's the most important, then I will get burnt out. My discernment will be off, or, I
mm,
will not know how to say no when, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But if I'm connected to God, then, and, your discernment is high. You listen and you're obedient. God's like, this time you don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
This time do that. This time don't do. Pull back some. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why, and it can get unhealthy. And even in my own personal life, it's gotten unhealthy. And I can honestly say that's because I wasn't really praying as much. I wasn't, you know, in church as much. And that's when things get unhealthy for me. You know what I'm saying? And however your relationship with God is, I'll leave that up to you. But I think there are practical things that we have to do. Like I said, the more you fill, the more you can pour. But if you're pouring, like, this cup is empty, make sure it's empty. ain't nothing in here. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but if I fill it up, I can pour it slowly. But eventually, I'm gonna have to fill this cup up again. You know what I'm saying?
That part.
So, that's how I think you have to approach it.
That part right there. And
Yeah.
and okay, for vehicles, it's not good to be running on fumes every
Mm.
so like
Nope.
every time, right? So
Nope.
it's no different with us. Like yeah, we're talking about that you want to be able to refill your cup, but you
Right.
don't need that mug to be bone dry,
Right.
empty, where you
Before you
struggling.
exactly.
You know what I mean? You looking up at God and crying out and be like, "Why?" And He's looking
Yeah.
down
Right.
like, "Cause you haven't done anything to fill yourself up, right?" You know what I mean?
Right.
So I
Exactly.
love that, man. I love that picture for sure. Jada asked, as of lately, what are a few things? Because this goes in ties with what we're talking about. What are a few things that you're doing for yourself and doing for others currently?
Currently, I've just recently started for others. Like I was talking about the foundation. Me and my wife were starting a nonprofit, and what we're doing is we're giving back to the underserved youth in our community
Mm,
in a unique way. Like we're using music as a way, and the studio as a way to, we're giving free studio time out.
wow.
We're teaching them how to mix, master. We're teaching them the music business and stuff like that, and we
Yeah.
do it completely for free. And we're teaching them like the trade of music, if you will, because people can go to school and learn how to mix and master, but they charge them all this money, and this is a hard field to get into. But we're
Hmm.
teaching them skills that they can go to a church and run their mixing board. They can go to anywhere, and you know what I'm saying, where
Yep.
they need sound and be a sound engineer. So we're giving them that trade completely for free, and that's something I've been focusing on. I'm doing for others. Me and my wife, we've been doing that just about a year now, but we're turning it into a nonprofit, and that's one way we're
That's cool.
serving to where that's not necessarily Christian, because we got to be
Yep.
able to go out and reach people that who aren't like us, who don't
Yep.
believe the same thing we do, and it's just about showing that love and being there for them, being that mentor to these youth. And then for myself, me and my wife, we're doing counseling, um,
Yes.
individually and together, to because running a business, running a family, I don't want to say it like it's running a family is a business, but
Right.
you
Right.
have to it's a lot on you, and you have to stay full, and you have to have knowledge, but you have to have practical steps that you can take to deal with certain things. So me and my wife are currently individually doing counseling and together, so that's something that we're doing to work on ourselves.
Man, that's cool, bro. That's cool. Man, I love that you were touching on the fact that you were wanting to do things not just for the Christian, right?
Right.
But for people, right? For people in general.
Yeah.
And um, I love that, but I also would like to not but and I would also like to encourage anybody who has that same thought process. Maybe God's doing something already in your heart, and you're like, "Yo, I'd like to do something. Maybe I'm nervous. I don't know what's going to go on or whatever." Um,
Hmm.
and mission, you definitely tag on this. Um, be sure that you are first in a healthy place
Mm.
spiritually, as well as in the tangible, in the actual physical. Like what, how would you like to add on to that to encourage somebody to be that?
Right. Man, I say like a lot of people when they get saved, or even if they're just like a newer Christian, like maybe
Hmm.
it's been like a year, we always feel like we have to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We got to do this and we got to do that, and it's almost like we want to impress God, or like we want to
Phew.
be, oh, I did this and I did that. But sometimes we just need to sit down and be fed and be and write our ideas down, so when you do come out, or
Yes.
whenever you do start what you want to start, you're effective. And there's going to be trials and tribulations through anything, but at the same time, sometimes we want to be so spiritual, and we want the gratification of like, oh, they started that and did that, and that's a good idea. And it's like,
Hmm.
no, I'm not saying don't start it,
Right.
but take that time to plan it out, take that time to sit under the word, take that time to be mentored, you know what I'm saying, so you can ask questions, you know what I'm saying,
Hmm.
and really do it the right way, and
Yeah.
allow God to lead you. Because we're in an era where everybody has to be doing something. Everybody has something powerful to say. Everybody's starting a podcast. Everybody's doing music. Everybody, and I'm not saying don't do those things,
Right.
but we also need to be a season where we're sitting down, we're learning, we're being fed, we're under the word. There has to be that season. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Right. And I mean, and how have we already not only seen it possibly in our own lives, but even if you're just looking at any of the celebrities or whoever who are coming to Christ, and then like the first thing they do is they try to get up on a stage and proclaim Christ and everything, and it's just like,
and then 6 months later, you thinking something totally different. You need that time to transition to change. Like, because I tell people all the time, man, it's like the way I thought when I was 25, I think totally different now. You know what I'm saying? And when I first got saved, I was super radical and all that, and I'm still radical to a certain extent, but I lead more with love versus law. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times we get saved, and especially like even the whole Kanye thing, he was super no this, and then it started changing a little bit because he was like, because at first I'm not a cussing Christian and blah blah blah. Then Kanye started cussing like crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to give yourself that time. If not, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if you are already a person kind of in the spotlight, regardless, right? Like, I know I brought it up before on a different conversation, but when Lecrae was on Tim Ross, he was talking about how he had to grow up. Like, he had to grow up in front of everybody's eyes. So like you and I can make those mistakes. Yeah. Right. And obviously you have a big platform as well, especially with RSPSG days, like all that stuff that you guys are doing. But like a regular person can make those mistakes, make that shift, maybe one day, you like, no, I'm wearing Christian t-shirts. I want to like Jesus, like loud on my shirt. And then, like the next week you're like, nah, okay, I'm going to dial that down to be fashion. And it's like but nobody's going to be yelling and, calling you out like, oh, you don't really love Jesus. Look how you're hiding. Right? We can do that stuff because we're not on a platform.
Right.
Woe to anybody who's even trying to have any kind of platform
and
doing that.
Be careful what you ask for.
Hey, if you liked any of this content and you found some value in it, make sure that you like, subscribe, and of course, share it. Also, if you're interested in some more, go ahead and check out these videos. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.